in order to find a soulmate, Vayetze Yaakov Be'er-Sheva. So I think this is a week of journeys. So it's a lovely week to study just a little bit about Tefilat HaDerech. We're going to ask two questions. The first question we're going to look at is, I'd like to look at the Tefilat. I want to look at Tefilat HaDerech, and we're going to ask one question on Tefilat HaDerech. And then after that we're going to look at the Gemara. The Gemara, which is the source of the mitzvah, of the Tefilah, of Tefilat HaDerech. And we're going to ask a question on the Gemara. Two questions. Then we're going to learn some Halachot pertaining to Tefilat HaDerech. Does anyone here work in Tel Aviv? Everyone lives and works in Jerusalem? Okay, so no one's like debating about, do I make Tefilat HaDerech? And you're right, if you live here, why would you ever want to leave? You're quite right, excellent, good. Okay, so then I want to learn some halachot pertaining to Tefilat HaDerech. When do we say Tefilat HaDerech? When do we not say Tefilat HaDerech? If I forgot at the beginning of a journey, how long into a journey can I say Tefilat HaDerech? We're going to learn some halachot connected to Tefilat HaDerech, and then at the end, we're going to answer the questions based on the halachot that we studied. Is that okay? Question, halacha, and then answers. And of course, your insights, your thoughts, your questions, anything that you want to add, Tov K'day, would only make the shiur more enjoyable for everybody. So I'm going to start with the Tefilah itself. This is Tefilat HaDerech. It's in source number 1. For people who, there's a sheet here, if anyone wants one. Does anyone want a sheet? Does everyone that wants a sheet have a sheet?
We have access.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. So this is Tefilat HaDerech. We say, Yirato milfanecha, Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avoteinu, Shetolchenu Shalom, V'tatzidenu Shalom, V'tajuchenu Shalom. Oh, V'tagienu L'chutz Chatenu L'chaim L'simcha L'Shalom. And then we say, V'hatzilenu Kav Kol Oyev V'Orei B'Derech, V'Kol Minei Puraniyot, HaNidrashot Lavo L'Olam. All of that part of the Tefillah, I understand. We're asking Hashem to protect us on the journey. Nachon, save us. Nowadays we're less worried about wild animals. We might be more worried about, chas v'shalom, a car accident, and therefore we could add that in to the Tefilat HaDerech. But the first part is, it's dangerous to go on a journey. So we're asking for Hashem's protection on a journey. But then, listen to the second part of Tefilat HaDerech. We say, V'tishlach bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeinu. Tishlach bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeinu. We should be successful in everything that we do. I mean, that's true. Of course it's true. And I wish that for all of us every day. It should be V'tishlach bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeinu. That's, I mean, but it's not, is that part of a Tefilat HaDerech? Is that part of a prayer for a journey? And then we continue more. Then we say over there, V'titneinu l'chein we ask Hashem that we should be seen as somebody with chen and chesed and rachamim in the eyes of God and in the eyes of people around us. And you should listen to our request. Is that a Tefilat HaDerech? I mean, that's a very noble prayer, and we all pray that we should be Beinei Hashem and Beinei Adam, good, solid people. But is that a Tefilat HaDerech? Is that part of Tefilat HaDerech? So our first question is, I understand very well why the first part of Tefilat HaDerech is what it is, but my first question is, how is the second half of Tefilat HaDerech relevant to Tefilat HaDerech? Is that clear? Okay, that's question number 1. And then we're going to turn to question number 2. Okay, question number 2 is from the Gemara. This is the source, the source of Tefillah. I mean, there are a number of sources, but I think this is probably the most well-known source because we want to finish this evening. We're only going to look at this source. This is a source in Brachot. Brachot Kav Tet Amud Bet. This is an amazing story, absolutely amazing story. Eliyahu Navi speaks to Rabbi Yehuda. Now 1 second. Yes. Eliyahu Navi speaks to Rabbi Yehuda. Achei de Rav Salah Chasida. Speaks to Rabbi Yehuda, the brother of Rav Salah Chasida, the pious person. And he says 3 things. First thing he says, Lo tirtach v'lo techti. This is very true. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. When you get angry, God forbid, then you can make a mistake. I'll just mention in brackets that anger, in every midah, you want to have it in moderation, not too much, not too little. Anger is the only midah that we read in Sifrei Musar that it has no positive value. When I get angry, when you wouldn't know, you're tzaddikim, but sometimes people, they lose it. That's never, it's anger, there's no positive aspect to it, and therefore, don't be angry, and then you won't sin. That's the first statement that Eliyahu Navi teaches. Isn't this amazing? This is, and then the second thing he says. The second thing he says is, I haven't got glasses. Yeah, go on, what does it say? Oh, excellent. The second thing that he says is, and that is, don't drink. Don't drink too much. If you drink too much, then you'll get drunk. And when you get drunk, God forbid, you'll also end up doing the wrong thing. That's also a warning. So the first two things, I understand, don't get angry, be moderate in the amount that you drink. And then the third thing that Eliyahu Navi says is, K'sha'ata yotzeh l'derech, when you go on a journey, himalech b'konecha utzeh. Himalech means consult. Consult the Ribono Shel Olam and then go on a journey. So the language is a very unusual language. The Gemara says, Eliyahu Navi is telling this Rabbi Yehuda, consult with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and then go on a journey. So two questions. First question, really one question on this Gemara. There are three statements. The first statement is, don't get angry and then you won't sin. Don't drink too much and then you won't sin. Consult with HaKadosh Baruch Hu before you go on a journey. How are those three things connected to one another? They would seem to me as three very random pieces of important advice, but three random pieces of advice, not necessarily connected to one another. Anger, not drinking maybe, but then this third piece of Himalech b'komecha, consult with HaKadosh Baruch Hu before you go on a journey. It's an odd context within which to be told about Tefilat HaDerech. You hear that? That's question number two. Question number two is, how is that the context to teach us Tefilat HaDerech? Questions clear? Joy? Happiness? Any comments? Any thoughts? Any observations until this point? Yes.
Regarding not being angry, let's say, for example, about injustice. What would be the proper approach then to injustice?
You mean if you see injustice?
Yeah. Can't be happy about it.
No, that's true. You're right. I can be passionate and I can be very...
Zealot.
Yes, I think zealousy is a good thing. Anger is when I lose control.
Okay.
When anger is, when someone loses their temper and they afterwards, did I do that? That's really a very negative thing to be. And I think that's what the Gemara is warning us about here. It's interesting that comes in the context of Tefilat HaDerech. I wouldn't necessarily link them together. Not drinking, don't get angry, and if we go on a journey, don't forget to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's clear, what becomes clear from these two questions, even before we do anything, and that is Tefilat HaDerech must be a bigger story. It has to be bigger than just a requirement that I should be safe on my travels. Because the second part of Tefilat HaDerech, that we should find favour in people's eyes, and then this context of Tefilat HaDerech, there's more to it, there has to be more to it than just consulting with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu before we go on a journey. So I'm going to continue in the Gemara. The Gemara says, Ma'i malech b'konecha utzeh. What does it mean, consult with your Creator before you go on a journey? So this is where it all starts. Amar Rabbi Yaakov, Amar Rabbi Chista, kol hayotzeh l'derech tzarich litfalel Tefilat HaDerech. Before you go on a journey, you have to say Tefilat HaDerech, and then the Gemara tells us the Tefilat HaDerech. And it's basically the same as the Tefilat HaDerech which we mentioned earlier, so I didn't put it twice. And then the Gemara continues, Eimat Matzli. When do you say Tefilat HaDerech? And this is where we're going to start getting a little bit halachit. At what stage in a journey do you say Tefilat HaDerech? Omer Rabbi Yaakov, Omer Rabbi Chista, Misha'a shemahalech baderech. Once you're on the way. Ad kama, how far on the way? Omer Rebbe Yaakov, Omer Rav Chisda, ad parsa. So you make your Tefilat HaDerech once you have travelled a parsa. A parsa is 4 mil. 4 mil is just under, 4 kilometers. A mil is just under a kilometer, so 4 mil is just under, or just a bit more under, if you want to say. Just a bit more under. Oh, you are such a tzaddik. Thank you so, I would love that. Thank you so much. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you all so much.
Amen.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Look at this. Isn't this a good apartment? You just admire. I don't know who these people are, but they have such beautiful sforim here. I mean, and other things, but also sforim. Okay, so that's the Gemara. The Gemara tells us that we make Tefilat HaDerech once you have travelled 1 parsa. That's the Gemara, right? Now, there's a debate about what that means, ad parsa. Rashi gives 2 positions. Rashi says like this, ad parsa, aval lo la'achar shehalach parsa. Very unusual. Rashi says you have to say Tefilat HaDerech within the first parsa, mean within the first 4 kilometers. So if you're on a journey and you're watching your whatever counts as, and then you see 5 kilometers, it's like, I've missed it. You have to do it according to the first statement in Rashi. First statement, is that you have to do it within the first parsa. You see that? But then he quotes a Baal Halachot Gedolot who says something else. Halachot Gedolot mefarish ad kama yivakesh lelech sheyehei tzarich litpalel ad parsa afilu ein lo lelech ela ad parsa aval derech pachot miparsa ein tzarich litpalel tefillah zo. He quotes a second opinion. According to the Baal Halachot Shalom Aleichem, according to the Baal Halachot Gedolot, it means that the journey needs to be at least a parsa long. If I'm walking from here to Katamon, you would not say Tefilat HaDerech because it's less than a parsa. So according to Rashi, when the Gemara said ad parsa, it means that you have to say within the first parsa of your journey. According to the Baal Halachot Gedolot, it means you only say it on a journey of more than a parsa. You follow? Okay. That's a machloket between Rashi. Oh, Baruch, you're such a gift. Thank you so much. On behalf of everyone here. All learn from Lily. Yes?
Wait until I ask a question.
Was that a bit too much of a build up there, wasn't it? So I apologise.
Does it make a difference if you're walking or taking a camel or driving, then the amount of a parsa is going to be very different?
No, that is an excellent question.
But it'll
Yes.
take you a much shorter or longer time together.
Fantastic. So you've actually hit on a very famous machloket. A very famous machloket really just means a machloket that I've heard of. I'm sorry, I apologise. It's really, but there is a machloket. I mean, sort of quite a discussed machloket about nowadays. If you say a parsa is 4 mil, and I'm travelling, travelling on a train. So 4 mil is nothing on a journey. So does the modern mode of travel change the way that we measure 4 mil? So the truth is, it does. Let's jump to answer your question to, I think we're going to look at sources 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are a machloket. I quoted 2 sides of the argument. It's Rav Ovadia Yosef is one side of the argument, and the other side of the argument, Mishnah Berurah. But I also think there's a Shevet Halevi, that is Rosh Shmuel Vosner of Bnei Brak, is also on the Mishnah Berurah side. So according to Rav Ovadia's side. So Rav Ovadia has a book called the Yabia Omer. This is his book of Shutim, of his responsa. In this book of Shutim, he was asked about modern travel. Rav Ovadia, asked Lily's question. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so this is what he says. He quotes a sefer, Shut Zichron Yehuda. I have to say, I don't know what the Zichron Yehuda is, but it's quoted by Rav Ovadia. שאם אינו שוהה בנסיעתו שיעור הילוך פרסה, לא יברך תפילת הדרך בשם ומלכות, כדין הולך פחות מפרסה. So what does he say? He doesn't talk about traveling. He says shiur hiluch parsa. Shiur hiluch parsa is not a distance, but shiur hiluch is the time it takes somebody to walk a parsa. Now, there's a very interesting discussion in the Gemara about how long it takes to walk a mil.
From Matzot, right?
Yes, exactly. Look at this Talmud Chacham over here. Excellent. And it is 18 minutes for a mil. So 4 mil is 72, which is how we get to the 72 minutes for Tefilat HaDerech based on Rav Ovadia, because we say nowadays, I'm not going to measure a parsa in distance, because we have so many interesting modes of travel today. You know, kind of aeroplane, a parsa is like, I don't know, 4 seconds or something. I have no idea. But it's a very, very short amount of time to travel a parsa, and therefore, when the Gemara spoke about a parsa, the Gemara had in mind the time it takes to walk a parsa, which is 72 minutes. That's the position of Rav Ovadia Yosef. The Mishnah Berurah argues, and he says, this is source number 7, he says, Pachot mi parsa b'karov le'ir eino makom sakana min hastam. He says, if it's all about the distance, and that is, if I'm within 4 mil, if I'm within a parsa of the city, that is, I'm within 4 kilometers of wherever I need to be, I suppose, I can always run back. You follow? So for once I've passed 4 mil, I enter a more dangerous sort of place, and therefore it's not about time, it's about danger. And because it's about danger, once I've left 4 mil, I'm in a dangerous place, and he holds that I measure not 72 minutes, but I measure only about distance. So that is a well-known machlok. I think nowadays, you probably know this already, the fact that everybody knew that it's 72 minutes for Tefilat HaDerech seems to indicate that the norm, I don't know if the norm, but a lot of people seem to follow more Rav Ovadia Yosef and measure my obligation of saying Tefilat HaDerech by 72 minutes rather than measuring it as a distance. Following more Rav Ovadia and less the Mishnah Berurah. Was there another questions? Okay, I want to do one more little halacha. Go back to, we looked at Rashi. Do you remember 2 positions in Rashi? Rashi who says that a parsa, that I have to, according to Rashi, I have to say Tefilat HaDerech within the first parsa, and then we saw according to the Baal Halachot Gedolot, it's not about saying Tefilat HaDerech within the first parsa, it is about a journey of more than a parsa that would obligate me to say Tefilat HaDerech. The Rosh is a Sefer Halacha, as you probably know. The Rosh quotes both of these positions, but he follows the Baal Halachot Gedolot. The Baal Halachot Gedolot, that it's about journeys of more than a parsa. He doesn't seem to hold like Rashi, that you have to make Tefilat HaDerech within the first parsa, but he does seem to hold like the Bahag, that the journey needs to be at least a parsa. Just in brackets, it's odd, if Tefilat HaDerech is about being safe on a journey, so then halfway through my trip, I am as vulnerable as I was a quarter of the way through the trip. So if my concern on the trip is danger, it would be odd that I would limit my Tefilat HaDerech to the first parsa, like Rashi. You follow? And that's really what the Rosh says. And that's source number 6. Va'ad kama ad parsa bahag. Do you see bahag kotev? This is source number 4. Very good. I'd like to keep you on your toes here. Good. Do you see that? כתב מי שיש לו ללך פרסה או יותר יברך, אבל פחות מפרסה אינו מברך. You follow that? That's what we said already. נכון? ויש מפורשים עד כמה נידון אותו באחיזת הדרך ויכול לברך אותו עד פרסה. כלומר, בתוך פרסה ראשונה יכול לומר, that's Rashi, אבל לאחר פרסה לא. ונראה פירוש halachot gedolot ikar, meaning that is, say the Rosh, I follow the Baal halachot gedolot, and I go against the position of Rashi, I, says the Baal Halachot Gedolot, oh wow, Shalom Aleichem. Do you all know Ilan?
Yeah.
Such a sweet boy. How are you? What a pleasure to see you. Did everyone notice? The room just got a bit lighter because Ilan walked in the room. That was, how are you doing? Last time I come to a shir meet. That was it. Okay. Okay, that's it, the Baal Halachot Gedolot. There's a Machloket Rashi and Baal Halachot Gedolot, and we see that the Rosh follows the Baal Halachot Gedolot. The journey has to be at least a parasat long, and we're not limiting the bracha to the beginning of the journey. Joy, happiness, any questions until now? Okay. We're going to go now to the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, which is always a good summary, is really what the Shulchan Aruch does is he takes all the different positions prior to the Shulchan Aruch, Rashi, Rosh, they were all before, Baal Halachot Gedolot, and then what's the word? Then formulates them into a Psak Halacha. And I would say that the Shulchan Aruch has probably become the binding work of Halacha. If I want to know what the Halacha is in a particular situation, so then we turn to the Shulchan Aruch, which we're going to do now. Source number 5. This is what he says. I'm going to actually stop for 1 minute because I think my glasses are in my pocket here, and basically I can't see the source sheets. Can you talk among yourselves for a minute? 1 second.
Great shiur, that one.
Did it get so well? It's going well, no? There is something going here.
So far, so good.
Oh, there they are.
Okay, here we go. Good. After that commercial break. Here we go.
Okay,
Good.
Rim.
Oh, mate, you're so right. The truth is, you mentioned a very, very good, important point. There's actually a machloket about Tefilat HaDerech. Some people say that if I'm going on a journey, when I make in Birkot HaShachar, which Zach just mentioned, Zach? Asher, oh, I'm so sorry.
It's
He
alright.
switched.
I switched recently.
It was his name previously.
Oh, phew. Asher, Shalom Aleichem. I'm sorry, Asher. Anyway, we say, Hamechin mitzadei gaver is one of the brachot that we make in the morning. The Rambam is of the opinion that when I say Hamechin mitzadei gaver, which is Hashem gives us all the power to walk, that is the Tefilat HaDerech. You know that I'm asking Hashem to have the strength to go on a journey. Just because you mentioned Birkot HaShachar, that was another one of the Birkot HaShachar about it. That's just like a bonus through the glasses. Okay, so this is the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, source number 5 says
So,
this.
sorry, if we forgot to say Tefilat HaDerech, could we have that in mind? That I said that the bracha in the morning, and therefore...
That is excellent question. There is a huge debate about whether Tefilat HaDerech is a bracha or a tefillah. Meaning, am I, like before you shake a lulav, well not birkat ha-mitzvah, but like the birkat ha-shachar, is it a bracha that I make before a journey, and therefore if I'm in the middle of the journey I can't make the bracha anymore, or is it a tefillah, like saying a perek tehillim? And if I say it's a prayer for the journey, then if I forgot, according to Rashi at least, if I've gone after one parasha, it's too late. I can't say it anymore because he sees it more as a bracha, and therefore I've already the opportunity to make this bracha is passed. But if you see it not as a bracha, but you see it as a tefillah, just praying to then you will be able to say it the whole journey, and that's part of the debate. We're going to look at that debate further. Okay. So the Shulchan Aruch in source number 5 says this. Oma ota achar shechzik baderech. Oh, exactly your question. So he says you say Tefilat HaDerech once you've started on your journey. Ve'ein lo omra elim ken yesh lo lelech parsa. You only say it if you're going to be traveling a parsa. Aval pachon parsa lo yachtom bevaruch. If you're traveling less than a parsa, then you would say as a tefillah, but not with the word baruch, meaning you wouldn't say with Shem L'Malchut. You wouldn't say Baruch Atah Hashem. Ve'im shachach min omra. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. Siyata Dishmaya. Exactly your question. What happens if somebody forgot to say it? Yomar otar kozman shu baderech. You can say it as long as you're on the journey. Uvivad shlo higia toch parsa smucha la'ir sherotze lalun ba Umisham va'elach yomar ota b'lo bracha. You can say it as long as you are outside of a parsa of your destination. If you're outside of a parsa, you've still got enough journey left. That is following the Bahag and against Rashi at the end. Because Rashi, if you remember, says you have to say Tefilat HaDerech at the beginning of the journey. Okay, everything clear until now? Any questions? Okay.
What if you're returning to, like, that night, let's say you're not sleeping there, like we say, Tafsirenu L'Shalom, if we're doing the same
Oh
thing
yeah,
for the
Nachon,
day.
Nachon.
So then if you have less than a parsa until you get there, but then it will also be applicable to the way back.
Oh my
say.
gosh, that is such a good question. What a good question. Do you get the question, everybody? I'm on my way to, I don't know, somewhere or other. I'm on my way to Haifa, right? So I'm driving up to Haifa, and then I'm almost in Haifa, and I forgot to say Tefilat HaDerech. But when I say my Tefilat HaDerech, I'm going to say, I would say, the Tachzirenu Shalom for my journey there and my journey back. So can I, at that stage, say my Tefilat HaDerech for both journeys? Because it's true that I'm less than a parasa of this stage of the journey, but if I look at the whole trip, I'm not a parasa away. That is such a good question. I don't know. Excellent question. Isn't that a good question? Asha will think about it and we'll let you know. Is that a good question?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question.
Excellent. My guess, but it's only a guess, is that you would not, that you would say Tefilat HaDerech, because this stage is over now, and that you would only say Tefilat HaDerech for the way back. But stay for a bit as well. I mean, after you slept all the way there, that's a separate discussion. Okay, the Seder. So we've now looked at the Shulchan Aruch, and we've looked at a fascinating machloket between the Mishnah Berurah and really the Mishnah Berurah on one side of the argument, and then Rav Ovadia Yosef on the other side of the argument about how do we measure a parasa. Do we measure a parasa in terms of time, or do we measure it in terms of distance? And we said that nowadays we really go much more by distance. No, we go much more, thank you. We go much more by time and much less by distance. Okay, joy, happiness? Okay. I want to look now at two incredible sources. I want to look at the Pinine Halacha. Pinine Halacha is written by Rav Melamed. Rav Melamed has an excellent series of books. Pinine Halacha, very, very readable, and really brought Halacha to the masses. We're going to look at Pinine Halacha in a summary of Hilchot Tefilat HaDerech. A lot of the stuff you will know because in the last 20 minutes you've all become experts. And then after we've learned Pinine Halacha, I have an incredible gift for you. And the gift is Rav Kook. Rav Kook in Ein Hayat, which is on the Gemara that we started with, and he'll sort of bring everything that we've said together. But we're going to start with the Pinine Halacha first. He says like this, Kafi shelamadnu, mipnei hasakana sheish b'drachim tichnu chachamim lomar Tefilat HaDerech. Now he says, and this we will look at, that because it can be dangerous to travel, the rabbis established Tefilat HaDerech. So he sees Tefilat HaDerech as a prayer to give me safety on my journey. You follow? Meaning, going on a journey is dangerous, I want to be safe, and therefore Tefilat HaDerech is a prayer that I should be safe on my journey. Okay, Muvwar b'Talmud Bavli, she'im HaDerech ketzara miparsa, ein ba sakana, ein omrim ba Tefilat HaDerech. He says, if a journey is less than a parasa long, then you don't say Tefilat HaDerech, because less than a parasa is not a dangerous trip. The only trouble is, and this is what Pinine Halacha deals with now, nowadays I could travel on a trip from here in half an hour. I mean, half an hour from this spot here, that even walking maybe, certainly driving, within 72 minutes of this spot, we could certainly get into a uncomfortable situation. Either in both, whether by distance or by time. And therefore, would I say that if the point of Tefilat HaDerech is to feel safe on a journey, that's not every under parasa journey is safe. You follow? So what do I do in an under parasa dangerous journey? You understand the question? Under parsa, dangerous journey. So this is what it says. Okay, Ella, שהקשה על דברי הגמרא ירושלמי, שקבע שכל הדרכים בחזקת סכנה. Any journey on a road is dangerous. ומשמע, שאומרים את תפילת הדרך גם על דרך שקצרה מפרסה. ותרצו שבדרך רגילה שאורכה פחות מפרסה, אין סכנה. לכן אין לומר בתפילת הדרך. אולם, הירושלמי מדבר על דרך מסוכנת יותר, ולכן, גם אם אורכה פחות מפרסה, יש לומר עליה תפילת הדרך. Do you see that? לכן נפסק בהלכה שאם הדרך מוחזקת כמסוכנת, אפילו אם היא קצרה מפרסה, יש לומר בה את תפילת הדרך. So, he quotes the Yerushalmi and then quotes various commentaries. Taz was very important on the Shulchan Aruch that talks about if I go on a journey, a dangerous journey, even if it's less than a parasah, I would say Tefilat HaDerech because it's all about the danger. If I feel danger, I say Tefilat HaDerech. And therefore, it's really got nothing to do with the distance. I could go on a very small journey and I could feel threatened, chas v'shalom. I'd like to be able to lishlov. I'd like to have access to a tefillah to accompany me when I'm feeling vulnerable, even on a short journey. So listen to what he says. So he says, Imke, bizmanim shekfishe mesuyamim nechshavim lemesukanim machmat hitnakluyot ha'aravim shezarkim avanim. There are certain roads here in Israel that people throw stones. V'lifamim avzarkim bakbukei tav'era. And sometimes they can throw things even less pleasant than stones. Or yorim chas v'shalom. Yesh lomar tfilat haderech afilu b'derech shel pachot miparsa. So he says, if I'm traveling on a road that God forbid is a dangerous place, I'm going to say Tefilat HaDerech even on the shortest journey. Why? Because what becomes very clear from Rav Melamed, the purpose of Tefilat HaDerech is to protect me. I could feel danger when I'm on the road. Any road is dangerous. You know, in Israel, from grades 1 to 3, they have a class here in Israel called Zihirut Badrachim. Did you know that? Every school age kid spends years 1 to age 6, 7 and 8 have classes to teach them how to cross the road. Why? Because every road, as we saw, every road is dangerous. If I'm going down a road and I feel threatened, and chas v'shalom, lo aleinu, we shouldn't know about these things, but there are dangerous roads. If I go on a dangerous road, I would say Tefilat HaDerech, even if it's less than a parasah. These are the words of Rav Melamed. Yes.
Does that mean it's all subjective?
What?
Does that mean it's all subjective? Meaning if I feel dangerous on the road but you don't, but I have to say Tefilat HaDerech and you wouldn't.
Yes. So I want to emphasize that actually. I'm going to tell you a story. This is the flip side of that story and also an answer to Ilan over here. There is a lovely, lovely book called Nishmat Harav. Nishmat Harav is a book written by Rav Shechter about what he learned from his Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Soloveitchik, as you may know, lived in Boston, but he taught in YU, which is in New York. Every week he would fly. It's an incredible Masirud Nefesh for his students. He would travel once a week, fly from Boston to New York every week. He told Rav Shechter, who then wrote it in the book, that after a couple of months, years, I don't know how long, he did this for many, many years, he stopped saying Tefilat HaDerech for the journey on an aeroplane from Boston to New York, because it was a journey that he did so frequently that he no longer felt he was in a state of sakana. It wasn't something that he felt was dangerous for him. So I could sit next to Rav Soloveitchik on the plane, my first time on an airplane, I'm going to be saying Tefilat HaDerech, and for him this is the 400th time he's done the trip, so he would not say it. So there does seem to be a subjective piece to Tefilat HaDerech. And you can have one person that could go on a journey and they would say Tefilat HaDerech, and you can have somebody else on the same journey and they wouldn't say Tefilat HaDerech. Yes?
I find it interesting that it's worded in Rabim and not Yachid.
Oh, you're excellent. The truth is that Gemara, excellent point, because in the Gemara, it is Belashon Yachid. that I didn't mention. Because there's always like, you have to leave something for part 2. Yeah, you're quite right. The Gemara actually has it in the singular, and then Abaye on the Gemara says that we should not be praying for myself, we should be praying like all of our tefillot. You know, Refo'enu Hashem and Shema Kolenu. Every tefillah that we say, Ashamnu Bagavnu, if this is a tefillah like all of our other tefillot, it should be B'lashon B'Rabim rather than B'lashon Yachid. That it was composed, the first presentation of Tefilat HaDerech in the Gemara was B'lashon Yachid. It was only Abaye who insisted that this is a tefillah like all others, and therefore it should be.
Right.
But it was a debate. Yeah, exactly. Excellent point. Okay. Oh, wow, yes. Shalom Aleichem. It's contagious.
If we say that the parasite thing is 72 minutes, so when would that start? And like, if you change, let's say you're like me, you go on public transport. If you're changing trains or buses or going between different cities.
So it's a parasite out of the city.
Yeah. So if I'm on a line, let's say I'm going up to Haifa, and I'm on a line that goes half an hour in Petah Tikva, and half an hour in Ranana.
Oh no! So you would say once you start
even though you go through these other cities.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there is a debate. If I'm going, let's say I'm flying from Israel to, I know people do that. You fly from Israel to New Zealand, Australia, and you have to stay overnight in Korea, which apparently is what people do. When you have to fly around, has anyone ever done that? Is that something that makes sense to anyone? Anyway, so if I make Tefilat HaDerech when I leave Israel, do I make another Tefilat HaDerech after, on the second? Normally, if I slept overnight, that breaks a Tefilat HaDerech. But as long as I'm on the same day, I have one Tefilat HaDerech for the whole journey of that day. Yeah. Okay. Oh yes. No, why?
I was just wondering where Shem Malchut would factor into that. In Baruch Atah Hashem Shmei Tefillah.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's like such a short. I mean, if we're saying that it's effective, right?
Oh, excellent. The truth is, I'm going to use that as a leeway into Rav Kook. Okay, we're going to go to Rav Kook now. I think that who sheds there are really, as we will see in Rav Kook, two different ways to look at Tefilat HaDerech. Two different views. Rav Melamed, in his presentation, but even in the way that he assesses when I say Tefilat HaDerech, when I don't say Tefilat HaDerech, it is a Tefilah B'Eit Sarah. I'm in a pickle, I'm in a difficult place, it's a Tefilah B'Eit Sarah, and therefore I say to ask Hashem's assistance when I'm B'Eit Sarah. You see that he mentions many times the idea of sakana. A journey is a sakana, being on a road is a sakana. There are roads that are more dangerous than others, and I say that tefillah is a tefillah be'eit sarah. That is the view of Rav Melamed, and we will see it's probably also the view of the Bahag in viewing what Tefilat HaDerech is. However, if you go back to our questions, remember we asked two questions at the beginning. The first question was about the wording of Tefilat HaDerech. We say some very, very unusual words. We say v'tishlach bracha v'vatzlacha v'chol ma'aseh yadeinu. That's not tefillah b'eit sarah. V'titneinu l'cheinu l'chesed rachamim b'einecha u'v'einei chol ro'einu. That there should be chen and chesed rachamim in your eyes, Hashem, and in the eyes of all the siyas. That's not a tefillah b'eit sarah. That's something else, right? And then if you remember Eliyahu HaNavi talking to Rabbi Yehuda, and when Rabbi Eliyahu HaNavi spoke to Rabbi Yehuda, he told him three things. He said, don't get angry. He said, don't drink too much. And don't forget to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for his permission before you go on a journey. None of those things seem like Eit Sarah, like Bakasha, Tefillah B'Eit Sarah. So if we look at this incredible teaching of Rav Kook on the Gemara in Brachot, Rav Kook wrote a commentary on the Agadah in Masechet Brachot and Masechet Shabbat, which makes learning the Agadot of Masechet Brachot and Masechet Shabbat a particular pleasure. If any of you learn the Agadot in Shabbat or Brachot, don't forget to learn them with ein ayah, and you'll be blown away. As you will be in a few minutes now, by what we're going to be looking at. So he looks at the story that we looked at, this Rabbi Yehuda and Eliyahu Navi story, and he says like this. Source number 9. האדם צריך לשמור את מוסרו שקנה לו בעמלו בדעת ובכישרון מכל רגשות רוח והסתערות הכוחות. כי כל הסתערות ומצב חדש מביא הריסה גם לכוחות המוסריים שכבר קנה. על כן, ראוי וחובה לשמור מכך, שהיא מסתערות לבד איסורה בעצמה אפילו במקום המותר, משום שלא תחתה. כי ההתרגשות מביאה לאיבוד ציורי המוסר שכבר קנה. כמו כן, well, maybe I'll just summarize. He's saying over here that a person, each one of us, has like a personal dignity. You know, we are all like dignified, wholesome, good people. Like we carry ourselves like a mensch. Everybody is a mensch. I mean, we are in our natural, healthy, if I've eaten enough and I've slept enough and I can interact with the rest of the world as a decent human being. And that's really the expectation on all of us all of the time. But there are certain situations that shake us up. One of them is something that annoys me. And chas v'shalom, I lose my temper. When I lose my temper, I don't just lose my temper, but we all know this, we lose our dignity too. We lose our menschlichkeit. We're not as dignified, we're not the person that we wish we were when we're angry. We lose that, like that dignity that really should be with us all of the time. If, God forbid, somebody drinks too much, they lose their dignity, their menschlichkeit, they lose that human, just the way, the wholesome humanity of that person. They're just like the norms of learning how to interact in a respectful way with other people. If I drink too much, I lose that too. But then Rav Kook says there's a third thing that also shakes us up. And that is when I break my routine. You know, we have a routine and a journey. When I'm in transit, I'm vulnerable. I'm not the calm, collected person I am when I'm at home. You know, sometimes you can have the most rational, sweet, wonderful person, and you meet them in the airport, and they're just like saying, where my papa, where's my weed? It's like a nervous place to be. Have I got my papa? I know I put it in my bag because I've checked 15 times, and I'm still worried if it's there. But the experience of traveling, of going out of my routine, can shake me up. You know, I'm feeling at home here in Jerusalem, but if you pick me up and drop me off, I don't know, in Madrid, so I wouldn't know. You know, like, you wouldn't know I would lose, or there's certainly a possibility of me losing some of that, like, integrity, that menschlichkeit. I'm a bit shaken up inside. I haven't got that yishuv hadat that accompanies me most of the time. According to Rav Kook, Tefilat HaDerech isn't just about praying for the sakana, that I should travel safely, but I'm asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to allow me to maintain my dignity through transition. Isn't that brilliant? V'tidneinu lechein u'lechesed u'rachamim ba'einecha u'va'einei kol ra'einu. Let me be a person with integrity in your eyes and in the eyes of everybody who sees me. Let me be the decent human being that I am at home. Let me still be that decent human being when I'm traveling, when I'm on a journey, when I'm out of that which is familiar to me. I'm praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to protect me, not just when I'm at home, but to allow me to maintain my menschlichkeit and my dignity even when I'm away from home. And maybe that's the machloket between the Bahag and Rashi. Rashi says you have to say it at the beginning of the journey, because that's when I'm leaving. That's the moment of transition. Once you're on your journey, once you've left, that's too late. As I'm praying to Hashem to give me strength, that I should be going on this journey, that I should, Hashem should give me strength when I'm outside my comfort zone to maintain my dignity. But once I've left my comfort zone, it's too late to make that bracha, because I'm asking for Hashem titneinu lecheinu lechesed rachamim beinecha uve'nei choroenu lifnei, beforehand. But according to the Bahai, it's about sakana. It's about danger. Well, it's as dangerous, the second half of the journey, as the first half of the journey. Therefore, I can say it the whole way through the journey. That's Rav Kukadir. So I want to end. I want to end with a blessing for all of us. We all, I think, made Aliyah. Is that right? So everybody here went on a journey. We all went on a journey. We should be blessed to use Tefilat HaDerech, not just when we're in the car or on the train or the plane, not just when we're traveling, but whenever we find ourselves outside our comfort zones, whenever we find ourselves in an environment that we're not familiar with, we should be blessed. Hashem should give us Tidneinu lecheinu lechesed rachamim beinecha uvenei kol roeinu. We should all be blessed all of the time to maintain our dignity, to maintain our humanity, to maintain our menschlichkeit at all times. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all go on wonderful journeys. Yishal koach to all of you. Yishal koach.
Thank you so much. That was great. Really informative, and it was great. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for coming. Feel free to continue to socialize. Our next event will be on Tuesday, in 2 days' time, the high-tech night. So, feel free to come and enjoy.